Shaman zegt de meeste dag met bezig met bezig. Je smaakt met ik was er wel nog staan met zijn dus dit toch. Yerushalmי. This was the Malach Ben Ephraim Yehuda. Yesterday we spoke. Rabbi said about the Ben Yoina. Ben Yoina, I think, is a raya to the kasha, not a raya to the teretz. What was the kasha? The kasha was, we spoke 2 days ago about Shema Yim Shechachot, places in that Gimel Sukkah. Gimel Alav. The place says the Shema Yim Shechachot. So Chanez Medayik from that place that it's a deraisa that if he eats in a sukkah, which is samach to the bayis, and the shulchan is in the bayis, and he's sitting in the sukkah. So the Gemara says it's don't do it because Shema Yim Shechachot. Shema Yim Shechachot is the gzeira to Rabbanon. So we asked if it's the gzeira to Rabbanon. You should be yotzei. Why does it say lo yotzi dechavosai? The way the Achlonel learns lo yotzi dechavosai midiraisi not yotzei dechavosai. Who are the nami when it says by Gamli Loime in the Mishnah and in Haggadah that you're not yotzei dechavosai kol shloime gimel dvorim shlosh dvorim elu. Lo yotzi dechavosai. Look at the Ben Yoina. Look at the Achlonel meinach that it's a deraisa. So we asked, what do you mean it's a deraisa? The Rabbanon made this issa that don't eat in a sukkah where it has a table going into the house where the table doesn't fit in the sukkah because Shema Yim Shechachot. So we read that the Rebbeinu Yoina. So what the Rebbeinu Yoina is saying is not like that. The Rebbeinu Yoina says, "Im Taima Lama Eina Oima Havrochas." I mean, after Kriyishma, after Chatzos, Yesh LaAkset LaRabbanon Da'omer Da'afilu Di'eved Eina Yotzei Ela Chatzos. The Chacham say you're not Yotzei Afilu Di'eved only until Chatzos. Im Ova Chatzos Ma'yi Edina Shemnema Shal Yikar Klal Kosher Kim L'Kriyishma Achiyev Min HaTorah Heich Yoichlin HaChachomim L'Poitrim Mimenu. How could the Chacham pati you from Kriyishma after Chatzos? Is the Amid is really the Chatzos Koido Sebelei Brochas. Others say that you do say Kriyishma, just don't say with the Brocha. Why? Because the Chacham have a koyach. Brochas is midrabanan. Yichayim hem b'shalahem l'noya shalayomer oisem achash over zeh hazman. After the zman is over, you can't say the brochas. That's it. The Chacham have a right. There's, even though the Chayyim talks about also Chayyim in fact the kasha. How could the Chacham be misaken brochas? Is the Shem Hashem was? Let's see Shem Hashem. The Teretz is like the Chayyim because not lashov. The Chacham made Takonas of brochas, that's not lashov. You can say brochas, but the effect is for akasha. Ganz a shtickle toy in the chayyim. But they say not after chatzos, so you can't say the brochas. Ava pishma shumin atoyre koyrin oise kol alayla. Ava pisha in scholar kol kach kamoyim koyrin oise b'chaseo. Even though it's not as valuable as you would say with the brochas, but the chachamim are the balabatim on the brochas, so you can't say the brochas. But the krishma, they can't take away the krishma. Afil ochi yesh leitzchak even shu mekuyim in atoyre. Then he goes and writes why can't say the brachas, but al kaponim. Then he says here, "V'nira l'moiri," Dr. Ben Yoina, the Sfila Rabbanon, shafilu kriyishma atzma shuhu min ha'toyra kol halayla eina koyra oisa acha chatzos sheyichayim l'chacham l'poter mitzvah say. So that's another darga that the chacham can say. Eina chenam if you want to say the kriyishma no chatzos, you're going to be kind of mitzvah say deraisa. But the Chacham can come and say, don't do it. The poitroi mitzvah say. They could say, don't do this mitzvah say. They have that koyach. But the shevar tas calls man she'oisin came mishum siyog. If they make it because of a gather, they have a reason to make a gather. By mishum kima mitzvah asmoi. Where do we see? By lulav shum tzasim min atoyah yom rishon. But they say Shem Yavirenu, so the Chacham say, don't do it. It falls on a Shabbos. Or then Shem Yavirenu by Rosh Hashanah, by Shofar, by Megillah. There's many things that Chacham could say. So Gzeis Chacham Shem Yavirenu Abba Mishram. So made a gather yog. Don't do it. But going back to our question here by Sukkah, if he eats in a Sukkah, they say don't do it. Don't eat in such a Sukkah. But if he did it, he ate in the Sukkah. He did say Kriyishma no Chatzos. Chacham didn't take away the mitzvah in Kriyishma. This is Mishnah Veganem. They can't take that away from you. They could say don't do it. But Sheva Tasa Chacham have a koyach. Ganz klar Yisrael is only blues in the shofar. I need the vergessen dort Shem Yavirenu. Yes, it's the Boki. Megillah, so on and so forth. The Chum have a koyach. Aber back to the mitzvah, the mitzvah, you're not, if you did the mitzvah, not how they wanted it, you're not yoytz the mitzvah at all, this steht nicht in Eretz nicht, that's what. So this thing in Kansas, so was shot in the and he learns that shot in Toysis. The Orchaner said that's the shot in the Toysis. Ich say it's not in the Toysis. But it could be the pshat is azoi. They had the balabatim to say what is considered derech aray and what's not derech aray. Kva, they can't make something a kva. Kva, that's already mosur chacham. Chalmoid, there's mosur chacham. These are malachos deraisa. The Toysis in Moed Koden. These are malachos deraisa. But the Torah gave it over to chacham to say which are the deraisa. Who had nami the din of sukkah that has to be aray and not derech kva. Those belong to the chacham. They're the ones that are the babatim to say who says that this aray and this kva. You eat in a shulchan, which eat in a sukkah. The shulchan has the shulchan in the bayis. Shemi yimchen can zayin the pshat. That could be the pshat in the Orchaner. He holds that this is considered derech kva. A derech kva can be shas in the sukkah. That's the drais the gedin. Who tells me what's called va, what's called aray? The chacham. So man, this can tracht. That can zayin. Nish. No.
Schaf, that's possible midrabanan.
Yeah.
You go to midraita.
Chaya. Here, chaya. Like the choshay.
I'm learning that from that run. The pshat is
this man, yeah.
It's a chuchatz lula. I can stop you from doing it. If you'll do it, so my ilu chachamim. What koyach do they have?
Okay.
And I'm no koyach. I can't stop you.
Yeah.
You do it, you're gonna get it. So
but they say don't do it. They say don't do it.
I don't listen to them. I'm still gonna get the mitzvah. So it's a joke.
All right, but
I have a koyach to say it's not the mitzvah.
Ganz klar ist doesn't.
Or else it's a joke.
Ganz klar ist doesn't blow shofar on Shabbos.
You don't. If everyone could go and do it anyway, so the whole siyog is a joke.
So what do you want to say? Who says?
No, so that's all the I don't know from that. Yesh koyach, we had the chum means and have koyach to stop you, and if you're not going to listen to us, we should still stop you because or else it's a whole joke. What do we say?
How do they take off the deraisa? Can I shut up on the deraisa?
This is
who says
this is the way you say Prima Garden. This
Prima Garden? Wie der Prima Garden?
In Hilchos Kiddush.
In Kiddush. Okay.
It's in the also.
Okay. And then said, okay. All right, Rabbi, so we have more complicated questions here about Svichim. Svichim is a moedige suga. So we just, but a lot of Yisraelis they don't know the Gemara. So let's go over a couple lines here, and we're going to find the weiter. Men Beis and Men Beis. It was 1/3 ripe before Shvius. V'nechnasa Shvius. We're talking about the tour. V'nechnasa Shvius. Now Shvius comes and it's less than 1/3 before Shvius. Asura mishum svichim. Why? Because it will be 1/3 in the 6th year. 1/3 in the 6th year is not. It's gotten already in the 6th year. That's not svir. The svir it's grew already in the 6th year. So Mele has a din of what? No more sviach, because 1/3 was ripe in the 6th year. Here we're talking about Evir Poches Mishlish Lefnei Shvius. It's less than 1/3 ripe before Shvius. V'nechnas Shvius. Asura Mishum Svichim. Why? Because it grew 1/3. The 1/3 was Nishlam, and the 2nd third and 3rd third in Shvius. It had a din of Svichim. What is Svichim? Something which you did not plant, it grew by itself. However, even though it has din of Sviach, but the dinam of Shvius doesn't have. So Pashas you could learn is simple. Why doesn't it have a din of Shvius? Because Sviach. What's Sviach? Allein gepflanzt, it grew by itself. You didn't plant it. So the Torah says, Tota didn't finish Sviach. Sviach, the din is Asa Bachila. But doesn't say that it has Kedusha Shvius. Can learn push a pshat. Lo Chala Kedusha Shvius Vavos. Because Sviach Kedusha Shvius. That's one way to understand it. But not sure it's correct. Well then, huh? Sviach. Sviach is something which you're not allowed to eat. Kiva holds his deraisa. What? Kedusha doesn't have. Kedusha means that it's not like behefke. You can't be mafked. You can't have to have kedusha shvius. You have to be shomer. Shvius has a lot of loy d'schayra. You can't sell it. That's kedusha shvius. Eating it is separate din. So it's different. The din of achila, which Sviach has, but the Kedusha Shviach doesn't have. This is when Ein Veg See, we can learn the Gemara. Let's see the Gemara folder. Wie Pach Mishlish Lefnei Shvius, B'Shvius Nigma Hashlish, also Mishum Svichim. Why is also Mishum Svichim? Because the Sviach was Nigma, what? The Shlish, and plus the second and the third, Nigma Shvius. That's why it has a din of Sviach, but it doesn't have a din of Kedusha Shvius. Like the Menafulda, no, with Alf Mem Gimel Alf, Lechaleo Kedusha Shvius, Al Hoasovim Kama. Now he's saying here, why? This is the Gemara. Let's just continue the Gemara. Sorry. Lechaleo Kedusha Shvius. Shekva hoyu asovim, look the Gemara on top. V'lo yichala aleihim kedusha shvius. Why is there no kedusha shvius? Exactly what I just said. It's sviach. What is sviach? Taich the Gemara. Sviach is asovim. This is a grus. It's grass. It grows by itself, and because it grows by itself, it's an asev, and an asev does not have a din of kedusha shvius, but it has a din of sviach. And like the bekiva does it other nice. Like the rabbanon, like the chacham told me the rabbanon said on sviach. You shouldn't eat it because people will say, you know what? He really planted in Shvius, and he's going to be Aramai, so the Chacham asked it. That's my place that I said about. But Al Kaponim steht in the Gemara Chidush that Sviach is considered Esav, and Esav does not have the din of what? Of Kedusha Shvius.
It's Eichel?
Huh?
Eichel?
No, it's Esav.
It's not Eichel.
Huh? What?
It's not Eichel. What's the Shaila Bechel?
Wait, what's the shot?
Shvi is only on Eichel.
Who says? How do you know?
Kedusha.
How do you know? Kedusha maybe it has. How do you know? You see it as din of Sviach. Kamash Malon, that Sviach doesn't have the din of Kedusha Shvius. That's the Chiddush, right? Okay, Zuk the Gemara weiter. Havi epochas mishlish lifnei shminis. If it was less than 1/3 lifnei shminis, less than 1/3 lifnei shminis, means that it grew in the 7th year, but less than a shlish. V'nechnes shminis, and now it comes in the 8th year, and it was mashlim the shlish in the 8th year. Is mutar mishum svichim. Why? It didn't grow 1/3 in shvius. 1/3 in shvius didn't grow, even though it's growing by itself, but it didn't have one shlish. Or the way that Rambam learns it's a noisamisis, not considered a noisamisis. It's not 1/3 in the 7th year. There's no din of sviach, even though it's a sabim. But a sabim less than a shlish, then neshkan isif in shvius. V'chala aleihem kedusha shvius. Here's where we got stuck yesterday. However, even though it doesn't have a din of sviach, why? Because less than 1/3 in shvius, but it has a din now of kedusha shvius. So what's the pshat? If it's less than 1/3 in the 7th year, and where do you have the 3rd and all that? You have that in the 8th year. 8th year is the cheshkan shvius. So why do we say over here it has a din of kedusha shvius? What's the pshat? Zok the Menafulda on the right side. Mutar d'shun svichim im lokdom tuur. Now here it becomes a little complicated. What does he say in the first line? Why not? Al asavim kama. Asavim doesn't have kedusha shvius. Im lokdom asavim. If when you took it out of the ground, there's a asavim. Shasavim kahaya kol gedulei and b'shishas. It grew 1/3 in the 6th year. So maybe now you take it out in the 7th year. You're off the hook because it grew 1/3 in the 6th year. So it has a shem of sviach in the 6th year. That's mutter. Mutar is mishum svichim lokdom tuur. What does it mean lokdom tuur? You tell me now it's esav. Lokdom tuur can sign the pshat. I know what it means now. You just told me shekva hoyu asavim. It could be now when it's nishlam, the whole thing is finished. When it's finished, 2/3 the ganze zach was in the shvius. In the shvius, that has in the shem tuur already. So now we say it's mutter mishum svichim because what? It was grew already in the shvius. So that is potter. However, if you have it sviach of shvius, it grew in shvius, and it has din of sviach, v'chalem kedusha shvius. Why? Mitor mishum sviach. Why? You had less than 1/3 in the 7th year, so there's no sviach. That same thing that grew by itself in the 7th year, and it's mutter mishum sviach because less than 1/3 in the 7th year, v'chalem kedusha shvius in lokdom asavim. What does this mean? So the pshat can sign, if the same thing which you were telling me now, it doesn't have a din of sviach, but it has a din of shvius, then I don't understand what it means. But if you're telling me the pshat is anders, chalem kedusha shvius im lokdom asavim, that means he made a lekita on the sviach in the 7th year. He made a lekita in the 7th year. He made a lekita, took it out of the ground, and it was what? Have the Shem Asavim, but if it's a Lakita, and even though it has the din of Shem Asavim, is Demels the Rash. By the way, I wasn't lazy. I looked up the Rashi and Peg test, but there's 3 pages of Rash there. Like with the Reb Shimon, the Rabbanan, that's the Ikisugi is over there in about Tzviach over there in Shviach. It's mind-boggling. So I didn't pinpoint this particular Rash, but like upon it, if there was a Lakita on that Savim, he made a Lakita Shaidah that has a din of Kedusha Shviach Satasiyah. Zok the Gemara weiter. Reb Yochanan Shimon Belokish Tavayim Moirin like this. Go back, please, to the verse to the Gemara Mem Beis and Aleph. It's not Vayontiv. Shadod in the bottom. Take a look at a minute. Rabbi say, Tony, 5, 6, 9, 10. Soda Shavi Shlish Lifnei Goy. You have a soda. 1/3 was by Goy. The Goy is a Goy. We're talking, let's say, in Surya, where he has a kinyan. Let's say. We lock him in many. So now Yid comes after 1/3 grew by the Goy, and Koyft is the Yid. Shut. Mechira, right? This is the ganze Shadif from the Mechira source. So Machlokes of Kiva and Rabbanan. Kiva Oimer. Hatesefes potter. It grew by a goy. It was 1/3 by a goy. The tesefes on the 1/3 is potter. So vax, what's vax? Ptur. Everything that grows on a ptur is a potter. Ayotzim in a potter is potter. That's the push the understanding. That's why it's potter. V'chachamim oimim. Chachamim say no. We pass like a chacham. Hatesefes chayv. Tesefes vax the ptur. B'yad Yisrael. It's chayiv because by the goy is like a potter. Of which the vaxed of them is chayiv. That's chayiv. Hatesefes look the Pnei Moshe on the left side. Shin toisav biyad Yisrael. The Rabbi Kiva potter. Ketana kamer the masnisa v'chom kerebi svilei. Umafarish lefi cheshbon. As Hatesefes is chayiv. This is Meglan. Ganze sugi for them. Let's go back to Mem Gimel. Look at the Gemara Mem Gimel. 4 lines in the top. Rabbi Yochanan, Reb Shimon ben Lakish, Tavayim, Morin, they paskin, Moiden, they say like this. This Chacham and Rabbi Kiva, they're arguing. Rabbi Kiva said that the Sefes is potter. Chacham say that the Sefes is chayiv. Moiden Chacham and Rabbi Kiva, that if it was a question, Besidran Shel Shonim, you have something which is growing, and it goes over in 2 years, something grew in the second, going over to the third. The second is Ma'aser Sheni, the third is Ma'aser Oni. Shema Yisheni, Sheni, Oni. He says that what? The Moedim, Chacham and Rabbi Kiva, even though the Chacham say, what? Chacham Paskin over here, that the Sefes is Chayiv, Rabbi Kiva is put the Chacham Yechayiv, that's Hani Mili, when you get to the din of whatever it is, if it's Shvius, if it's called Issa Shvius, not called Issa Shvius or not, but Meseder Hashonim, but again, you want to know if something's Ma'aser Oni or Ma'aser Sheni, that's called Seder Hashonim, the Chachamim are masking to Rabbi Kiva, and it says, Tesefes is potter. You don't say that if it went from the second to the third, because it's now a Tesefes, so it has a din, the Chayda Ma'aser Oni, Zog of this applies Ma'aser Sheni. Shemai Sheni, Oni. Om Rabbi Yochanan, let's see the Pnei Moshe. Rabbi Yochanan, the Shlokish, Tavayinomim, Kiravina Dulial, the Indian Chiv Maisa Shalashona. But again, if you want to know if it's Chayiv Maisa, not Chayiv Maisa, Hochach Hashona Shagodlabo, Hashlish Harishon, if the first Shlish goes, Zok Rabbi Kiva, you go boarding the first Shlish. After that, the Tesefes is no longer considered a Tesef is Chayiv. Well, if he's Sidon Shalashonim, yeah, however, when you get to the Seder Hashonim, so then we say, even the Bechama, Maskim to the Bekiva, that the Sefes remains what the second year was. If it started in the second year, bleibt phase of the second year, and it's going to be Mais Sheni. Look them out for the Chala Besidin Shoshonim. Kumoish Brashi there, but the Rebbe, like he said, that Oivim and Omen and Mezim and Alchin, and Misvile, the Rebbe Yochanan, the Shlokish, they also agree, Lepligi El Inyan Nochi, when you get to buy Nochi, Mitam Shepirashti, the Enigma called Bishulam, Avlini Shnozon. When is the Machlokes of Kiva and Rabbanon? That's all we're talking about the Maisa itself. When you get to the Shnas Maisa, as Linon, Boss Shlish, we go Boss Shlish. Look, the Gemara weiter. Om Rabbi Yochanan, Hefke, Vehegdish, Besuya, these 3 things was Hefke. And all these 3 things are Potter Min HaMaisa. Hefke is Potter, Hegdish is Potter, Suya is also Potter, because now the Nivetz is so. because it was David HaMelech, and David HaMelech did it in a way that wasn't Chayv Ma'aseh. He did it too early. Machlokes Rabbi Akiva v'Chacham. There we have Machlokes Rabbi Akiva and the Chacham, but again to the Tosefos. Omer Reb Shimon ben Lakish mighty Rabbi Akiva the Chachamim. Even though Rabbi Akiva says that the Tosefos is mutter, we go boss to the first shlish. B'chonad v'ashrosha. What's meint this? Look the Pnei Moshe. Look the Pnei Moshe. In the second wide line, Amr Shimon Lakish mighty Rabbi Akiva the Chachamim. B'chonad v'ashrosha. Chonad means was the chenita. When does it take? Was it have a chenita? That's before the ashrosha, before it takes root. It's called chanota. Kloima. Lo l'cholam Rabbi Akiva the Ochan Achagiyah lo'oines hamaises biyad abtur. Not for everything that we say that once it came to oines hamaises. What does oines hamaises mean? According to the Rambam, that means one third. And according to the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, we saw the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah says 1/3 l'shloish hashanim, mamish 1/3 ripe. Akaponim biyad abtur. When do we say that a gil oines hamaises is poter? Ela the moedehu be'ilu. These three things, hegdish and hefke and suya, the be'ilu omer chacham and the hocha achachanota. We go here different seder. Not we go both to the first shlish. We go both to chanota. Kegoin be'ilon. So now we're talking about tvur, things that are growing, wheat. Now he talks about ilon. Those lina both chanota to the maises. We get to maises. We go both to the chanota. V'yesh the ozlu rabbanon both hashrosha. Others say you go both when it takes root. Gehai the tanina bepeik shein the shviyas. Oides v'adoichen. This is spelt in rice. The Ochan Acha Hashrosha, Moide Rabbi Akiva bezed, I forgot the B'shas Chanota. Oy Hashrosha, oy biyad abtur, Kegoin, biyad goy kiyoyze boy, V'shuv boy biyad achiv, then the goy sold it to a yid, and now it comes to the yad chiv, that the Tosefos chayv. Even though Rabbi Akiva always says the Tosefos is poter, but when you go to Hashrosha and Chanota, then he says the Tosefos is chayv. But Tama, what's the reason? The Ike Hagdulam biyad achiv hushin is gadol. Interesting. It's always like that. You go, what, shlish is not the Ike, it's not the roiv, it's 1/3, it's less than 1/3. But when you get to the oines hamaises, sheni, and shlishi, there we say, according to the Akiva, you go boss to the shlish. Ma'aseh Enkem has the dinim of charot and hashrosha, there you go boss to Ike Gedulam. And about the Ike Gedulam was biyad achiv hushin is gadol, because more than 2/3 was in biyad achiv. Dr. Akiva, the Yisayt Tosefos is Yochai. Dr. Menafulda. Hefke behegdish v'suya, hoch gasinon. Havia shlish behefke. 1/3 was when it was hefke. Hefke is poter. By behegdish, or it was hegdish, weiter poter. V'suya is also poter. V'yach hakar zoche behem, noch demot. It comes a yid, and he buys it from the guy. He's zoche behem, upadon, v'locham v'nigmeru. And now it's finished up when Biyad Yisrael, Rabbi Akiva, poter at the Tosefos Rabbanon Chai, k'mo havia shlish v'locham v'Yisrael. He's moide Rabbi Akiva. This Rabbi Akiva is moide. When does he say you poter? That's only when we're talking about shlish from the tvur. Ma'ashen kein chanota v'shrosha bi'ilon. These are talking about trees. No longer talking about tvur. So Rabbi Akiva says when you're talking about trees, which are dealing for chanota and shrosha, bosa chanota. You go bosa the chanota. The kidney is by beans, those lean and bosa shosha, you go when it takes root. All was happened in the rishus of the goy. Even it's a mighty chiddush. It was b'shus hagoy, the chanot and the shosha. Even sheike b'shulam v'gomram b'shus Yisrael. Now when the Yisrael buys it from the goy, and the rest of it finishes up in the yard of Yisrael, most of the ripeness is from when chanot and shosha. A long way till it's finished. Chayiv. He only holds that you don't go busted the Tosefos only by the dinam of shlish when you talk about the karka. Okay. So jetzt gehen wir weiter. Jetzt kommt sehr interessante Gemara. Sehr interessante Gemara. Sagt die Gemara so: Zora b'chuva. Planted in a chuva. What's a chuva? A destroyed house. Exactly how you measure that. I don't know exactly, but it's a chuva. It doesn't have a shem bayis. V'vi shlish. And afterwards, it was ripe 1/3. What happened after the 1/3? You fixed it. You put a roof on top of it. That's called sicha gabel. It looks like a chuva means something doesn't have a roof. Now you put on a roof. What's the roof got to do with the dinam of maises? Al daita del bekiva the Tosefos chayiv. The Kiva says potter, but here we talk about a bias who's nichav and it's planted in the bias and a v'viyah shlish, and after the shlish you fix the house or you put on the roof on the top of the house. Here the Kiva changes his mind or changes the rule, and he says that the sefes is chayiv. Adaita the Rabbanon, which the Rabbanon always say the sefes is chayiv. Here the Rabbanon say potter. What's the pshat? Take a look here in the Pnei Moshe. It's fascinating halacha, but it's going to get mamish to understand what's ola, what's ma'ases. Growing it in, and we talked about it. If you grow it in a greenhouse, what's the din in a greenhouse? So here's the aside from the greenhouse. Zora b'chuva, mishum damin lakamon b'pei kamadola. Ilan shenotoi b'soich habayis chay bola. If you have a tree, and tree has dinam of ola, only trees, right? But in the house, it's chaye bola, it's potem in a ma'isa. Why is it chaye bola, and why is it potem in a ma'isa? What's the chiluk? So it must be like this. D'chsiv aseh ta'aseh es kol tu azarecha hayoytze asoda. The dinam of ma'isa is, if you plant it inside a house, it's potem. It's nishkan soda. In a greenhouse, nishtok achiv for ma'isa. The ilon, the noket, lav dafka, doesn't mean dafka a tree in the house, because that's the din of ola. Hu adin zora tvua b'seich habayis, potem in a ma'isa. If you take tvua and you plant it in a greenhouse, you put them in a ma'isa, because nishkan soda. Soda is in the field, open field, not in a bayis. Because the yalef ma'ikro, the yoytza soda ksiv, which grows in the soda. And that's not a house. Soda is a field, an open field. That's as they landed the pshat the Pnei Moshe. Begabe tvu hu oime, el mishum dekona. So that's by tvu. So what are you talking about over here by ola? Mishum dekoma chay beola lochi nokat ilan. The reason why it says over here ilan that he talked about you planted a tree, but it happens to be talking about ola. Ola is only negated by a tree, but it happens to have the same halacha that if you plant a tvu inside a house. Nishkan zera, it's nishkan soda meinu. It's not a soda. Soda means open. If it's not open, it's potem in a ma'aser and it's potem in ola. Because ola also needs soda.
Could be that it grew before the house.
Okay, that's the Gemara. 1 second. Now this is the case, but first you have to know the rule. The rule is has to be soda. When you get to ola, when you get to ma'aser, if it's not a soda, what's a soda? Open. If it's not open, it's in a house. Teugnish. Hashte koma. Jetzt kommt the Gemara sagen, im zora b'makom chuve. If it was a house. But it was a destroyed house. It was nechrav, meaning what? L'chay doesn't have a roof on it anymore. And in this chuve, it grew 1/3. Now he fixes the house. He puts on the roof. But now it's no longer a soda. So 1 shlish was besada. The rest of it grows right in the house. Now you go back to the b'chokes of the kibbutz rabbanon. What's the din by the sefes? The sefes means it grew in a ptur, and then the sefes was in a chiyuv. The Rebbe Kiva at the sefes chayiv. Why do Rebbe Kiva say here it's chayiv? Even though Rebbe Kiva always says you potter, but here by the sefes, but here you say you chayiv. Why? The hochen acha shlish harishon shekodol b'chiyav. Why? It was a churva, and the churva has the din of a soda, and that shlish was chayiv. The rabbanon at the sefes potter. The rubai godol b'ptur. Most of it was b'ptur. So you say you potter. Zora b'bayis would be a shlish. Let's say he planted it in a house. That's next Gemara. Go back now to the Raful.
I don't want to do that, but okay.
You don't say what?
No, I'm saying first this one, and then after first was Soda, then the roof was on there. Okay,
Whatever. He planted in a chuva. That's the story. He planted in a chuva. The chuva is potter because not a soda. And then he put on a house, and after he put on a roof, and after he put on the roof, it was nishlam. So according to the Rebbe Kiva, Vibatu was nishlam with a roof. Most of it was nishlam with a roof on it. So I'm sorry, most of it was nishlam, with a roof on it. You put
until the rebuild the house again over again, and don't have the problem with the roof, and then
you're asking a kasha on a story, but he's telling you halacha.
Okay,
if somebody did like this,
sorry.
no, have to be sorry. Just telling you, this is the pshat. We're talking about a halacha, not talking about stories. Zora b'chuva she'em sham schach. He planted in a chuva. What does a chuva mean? A chuva means that there's no schach, there's no roof on it. If there's a roof and it has no windows, the walls are.
The greenhouse, this roof is there already.
So the greenhouse is a bias. The greenhouse is a bias. That's what I think. It should be pot. Zara b'chuva she'em sham schach. V'vi a shlish, and he brought it a shlish without the schach, meaning without the roof on it. V'vi a shlish v'aka sichel, and later he fixes it. He puts on the roof. But now it's a bias. You see, by putting on the schach, Vet is yes abayis, the Rabbi Kiva Chayis.